Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Jason Rocha. I am a FSL intern for the Office of Student Involvement. Um, I report directly to Haley Montoya, and today we are going to go over this hazing prevention presentation for you. And alongside me, I have Malia.
Hello, everyone. I am Malia Bowman. I am also an FSL intern working under Haley Montoya within the Office of Student Involvement.
Alrighty, so let's get started.
So the goals for today's presentation, we will be defining what hazing is. We will be going over how to explain the differences between intimidation, harassment, and violent hazing. You will understand the hidden harm of hazing. You will understand the relationship between hazing and consent. You will also be able to identify ways to prevent hazing and also better practices for your members and your new member education programs. We will also be going over the resources in preventing hazing, as well as reporting hazing and what happens after you report hazing. And it's also important that as an FSL community, we take hazing seriously because hazing affects us all. We need to stop this hazing culture before something worse happens or we lose a member of our community. So keep that in mind throughout the entire presentation.
Okay, so I want to go ahead and just give you all about like 10 seconds to think about, reflect. Why did you join your organization? Okay, so I hope you all reflected and kind of thought about why you joined this organization in the first place, what really um, caught your attention, and what really pulled you in.
So now we're going to define what hazing is. Hazing is any activity expected of someone joining or participating in a group that humiliates, degrades, abuses, or endangers them, regardless of a person's willingness to participate. Allen and Madden, 2008. So think about this statement and reflect on it for just a moment. Ask yourself, what is interesting or confusing about this statement? Notice that this is a very general definition, and the varying levels of hazing is large, and that hazing can happen like regardless of a person's willingness to participate. So hazing is about power and control, and it can happen whether you are a new member or not, and again, regardless of the person's willingness to participate. And notice that in our infographic that hazing is a combination of peer pressure and a desire to belong, and that can become a coercive environment to hazing. So here are different levels of severity to hazing that range from intimidation, harassment, and violence. If you see on the graph, you are more likely to recognize hazing acts that are violent, but their frequency is low. On the other side, you are more likely to see or experience hazing acts that are intimidation, but you might not recognize them and that hazing is actually occurring. So in intimidation, examples can be deception or calling each other names, demeaning names, assigning demerits, things of that nature. In harassment, examples include verbal abuse, sexual simulations, threats, asking new members to do certain things, wear certain things. And on the violent side, it could be forcing alcohol or drugs on members, sexual assault, abduction, and kidnaps. So it is so important to note that at all of these levels, it's still considered hazing and it should be taken seriously. The spectrum is wide and broad, and it is very important to be aware of the different frequencies and the recognition side because it can help you better understand when hazing is occurring.
So here we have the hazing definition provided by the University of California. So participation in hazing or any method of initiation or pre-initiation into a campus organization or other activity engaged in by the organization or members of the organization at any time that causes or is likely to cause physical injury or personal degradation or disgrace resulting in psychological harm to any student or other person. So this is defined by the UC, meaning that it does not only apply to UC Merced, it applies to all the other UCs in California. Um, so just remember that all group activities must respect the dignity of an individual, and any activity which is demeaning, embarrassing, or mentally or physically injurious to an individual or group is considered hazing, and of course, it's not permitted. And this is also the law. So I want you to take a second and read over this definition, um, as it is the law that California has defined. So just take a couple seconds and read over it. Okay, so this law, um, which is also known as Matt's law, comes from a story of Matt, um, who is an individual that grew up in Concord, California, and died as a result of hazing at Chico State. So the law enacted in his honor, um, and changed hazing from a misdemeanor to a felony here in California. So I want you to also note that the the terms hazing and haze do not include like fire departments, police departments, the military. So any like training, conditioning, or similar events in these departments um, do not uh, do not apply to it. So remember that our student organizations are not members, are not like soldiers, they're not prisoners, and they're not gang members. So, and a little question to think about: does anyone know how many states have hazing laws? Just think of a number, and we'll get into it. So the answer is 44 out of 50 states have hazing laws. So as you just learned in California, it is a felony. So people can and will be convicted of hazing. And hazing is more than just fraternity and sorority life, meaning that it can happen in other group activities. So as you can see in this infographic, um, fraternity and sorority life is almost tied with the leading group, which is varsity athletics. But it doesn't just happen in our FSL community. It happens in our clubs and sports, in our intramural teams, and even in honor societies. And you could see how it ranges from which organizations, but FSL is not the only ones that are affected by hazing. And in this statistical infographic, we have that 26% of people participate in a drinking game, 17% sing or chant in a public situation, 12% associate with specific people and not others, 12% drink large amounts of alcohol to the point of getting sick or passing out, 11% are deprived of sleep, and 10% are screamed, yelled, or cursed at by other members. So this is where these are the most frequently reported hazing behaviors.
So now we're going to go over an activity. I'm going to be reading off some ways that you can determine if something is hazing or not. And before I do this, I want you to know that this statement is a myth, saying that it's difficult to determine whether or not a certain activity is hazing. It's such a gray area sometimes. So in fact, it is not difficult to decide if any activity is hazing if you're using some common sense. So we will go over that now. So ask yourself if the activity is an educational experience. Does it promote and conform to the organization's ideals and values? Does it increase the feelings of friendship between new and initiated members? And ask yourself if the activity has new and initiated members participating together. Is it one that you could defend in court? Does the activity meet the spirit and letter of hazing policy? Is the activity one that you would want your parents to watch? Is the activity, does the activity sorry about that. Ask yourself if the activity, will any of the members refuse to participate? Also ask yourself, is the purpose to exclude or punish someone? Will the activity involve emotional or physical abuse? Does this activity violate any value statement set forth by the organization? Am I asked to keep things secret? And does the activity involve anything illegal? So you're going to want to ask yourself these questions and pay attention to this, because if something is hazing, again, it's not a gray area. Think about your family, think about your loved ones, think about if you were held responsible in court. Would you want any of your actions coming to light? Would you be ashamed of anything? So definitely rely on your moral compass and asking these questions if something is hazing or not. So now we're going to go over power and privilege within hazing. So knowing that certain identities in our society are more privileged than others, so it's really important to know that there is an imbalance that could result in hazing. So for example, this could happen between executive members and general members and new members, executive members and new members, and it could also happen between bigs and littles. So knowing that there is that power differential, and that the people's backgrounds also take into account, because someone's identity and the privilege or oppression that comes with their identity may affect how they want to approach a harming case, if they're willing to or will ever be willing to speak up about their experience, about if they've been hazed or not.
Okay, so this is a little part one activity for you to kind of think about hazing situations. So I'm gonna read the question and then let you give a couple of seconds to answer yes or no to yourself, and then I'll go ahead and explain if it is or it is not hazing. So is this hazing? Requiring new/prospective members to carry $5 with them at all times. So I hope everybody thought about it and answered yes. If you answered no, it's completely okay. This is what this presentation is for. So it is in fact hazing to require new members to carry the $5 because as they are new members, this is usually like in this context, it is kind of being assigned by either active members or e-board or someone in the active chapter. So they're kind of forcing them to carry um, money with them at all times. And we don't know if this can lead, like, say, um, it leads to a consequence to not having the $5. So this is hazing. All right, next question. Mis- Mislead new/prospective members about ceremonies or ritual with the excuse that it will be a surprise. Is this hazing? Yes or no? And so the correct answer for this is yes. Um, as a new member, when you first sign up and join and have your new member education and kind of get to know your new member educator, um, this is a time where the new member educator should be completely transparent with you about the process. So there shouldn't be like any surprises. You should know what's going on. You should be informed ahead of time of what's going on. So next question. Force new/prospective members to recite the names and hometowns of every member. Is this hazing? Yes or no? The answer to this one is yes. So the keyword here being force. Of course, forcing someone is in fact hazing. Everything should be given consent to, and it should be true consent, which is something we'll be going over next. But yes, this is hazing. And next question. Wake up new/prospective members in the middle of the night and ask them to go on a late night food run. Is this hazing? Yes or no? So yes, this is hazing. Um, Waking up someone in the middle of the night is not appropriate um, since you never know um, like what this person that got woken up has to do the next day, or if um, they could have a hidden harm, which is also something we'll be getting into next. Um, but this is not okay. Of course, there is times where you could be asked and then you're given the option, but asking them kind of like out of nowhere and in the middle of the night wouldn't really be appropriate. So this is hazing.
So now we'll be going over consent and hazing. So someone could say, if you don't want to do this, you can leave. Participants could also say, we wanted to do it and they weren't forcing us, so it wasn't hazing. So the fact that an activity is done with consent of the persons involved does not exempt it from being hazing. If someone agrees to participate in an activity, then it can't be considered hazing is another myth. Hazing goes back to what we were talking about with a power differential. It is all about power. So if someone agrees to participate in an action, it may not be true consent when considering the pressures surrounding the situation. So, again, going back to what we were talking about, peer pressure and a desire to belong.
So now we're going to go over the common excuses, not reasons, that hazing occurs. So some of these bullet points say to foster unity, to work on new members' problem solving abilities, to help others develop new leadership skills, to earn your right into the brotherhood or sisterhood, to work on time management, to be more confident, or to pass on traditions of the organization. So if you hear or if you've heard um, this kind of like quote, hazing is an effective way to teach all the aforementioned skills. Um, so, in fact, this is not an effective means of teaching because hazing only breeds mistrust, apathy, and alienation. So, um, this is something to think about. Um, as a new member too, you traditions can change. You can be that new impact or um, bring something new like to the table. So the tradition doesn't always have to stay the same. So if you have to ask yourself, is this hazing? Then it most likely probably is. And hazing can result in one of these hidden harms. Um, so there could be emotional harm, anger and resentment, damaged relationships, mistrust, physical harm, psychological harm, abusive culture, and death. So there's this statistic that says 1 in 5 American adults will have a diagnosable mental health condition in any given year. So if hazing does occur or is um, does happen to someone, you never know if these like this person has a diagnosable mental health condition, and some of these could be like anxiety or depression. So, like the backgrounds aren't really known of these people, so you never know if something could trigger them. And of course, like looking out for your peers and your your new member class is always something to keep in mind.
So, in this photo, these are all the lives lost from hazing. So, please take a second to look at this and reflect. We don't want this to happen at UC Merced, but it could happen. It's really important that we pay attention to the impacts of hazing and what it can do to our community. We have to make sure that we are practicing good ethics and we have good standards and that we are making sure that we have a positive community because any one of us at UC Merced could be harmed from hazing and their face could be in that last red box on the right. So really think about it. You don't want to see one day that a person in our community that you loved and you held dear ended up being affected by hazing. So now we're going to talk about ways and the steps to prevent hazing. So we talk about 4 P's to prevention: philosophy, program, process, and people.
Okay, so starting off with philosophy, as a new member, you want to understand and embrace your organization's core values. This will provide you and your organization with accountability. Um, so you will be taught the different core values. You'll be taught like their missions, visions, rituals. So you kind of want to think about um, these core values as they were created by the founding fathers a long time ago. So, um, and of course, created for the better good of the individuals. So maybe this is a reason why you also join because you look up to these values and you follow these values, you align with them. Um, so really like keep that in mind and provide that accountability as well. And then moving on to program, understand the membership education program as outlined by the national organization and should only develop members as well as be clear and transparent. So this is something that the new member educators should um, be completely clear and transparent with you all. Um, so there should be like no surprises, and if there is, then that's when you have to take action and kind of either report that directly to them and say like state why it's not okay. Um, but this program should only develop members, so it should be a positive and um, beneficial program to develop you.
So for process, going on to what Jason was saying about the member education process, you want to go over it every year. And that's really important because you want to ask, does the member education process support the mission and vision of the organization? So you want to think critically about its relevance to your organization's purpose and does it align with your values? And emphasizing that traditions can change. So the process is really important because the values that you learn during this time will be instilled in you, and that was the reason why you joined, for the values. So you really want to protect that and protect our community. In our community, you have all of these wonderful people. So we have amazing resources at UC Merced to help each other thrive. And you, as a chapter member, you have your chapter advisors, you have your national, international headquarters, and people in your executive offices to help you. You also have the Fraternity and Sorority Life Office, as well as the Office of Student Involvement staff and other campus resources that we will also be mentioning later. And knowing that you, as the individual in your organization, can be the change. You are the change. So you have the power to make a difference and to educate each other and be a positive influence in our community, because it is everyone's responsibility in the FSL community to uphold the FSL values and also your individual chapter's values.
Okay, and so moving on to what Malia was saying, you do have the power to make a change. So this is kind of like a guide of how to change from a bystander to a change agent. Um, so you want to first know. So you want to notice that something is happening. Interpret the event with a sense of urgency. You want to decide. Take responsibility for providing help. Know how to help. And lastly, you want to act. So take action to help. Um, and if you aren't really familiar um, with this know, decide, act kind of formula, you could consider taking a training with CARE, our CARE office. You could learn about more about bystander intervention, and when it comes to deciding on the decide portion, you could also decide to act, like seek resources on campus or with the organization's headquarters, or you could consider ways you can create change in your chapter. And lastly, for act, you could create cultural change that will impact those around you and your culture, the culture of your chapter. And now we'll be going on to alternatives to hazing. So as a reminder, um, this is what a new member education program should entail. Um, so new/prospective members get to know the other prospective members. New/prospective members get to know the initiated members. They get to know the chapter, how the chapter operates. Get to know how to navigate the campus. You get to learn the history of the organization, and the processes should only last between 4 to 8 weeks. And here we have some better practices for membership. As you see, there's alternatives to hazing. This infographic shows um, all the alternatives to hazing. So foster unity, develop problem-solving abilities, develop leadership skills, instill a sense of membership, promote scholarship, build awareness of history, and aid career goals. So I want you to take a second and think about ways to where all these different things I mentioned of alternatives to hazing, maybe what's some events or some activities that could fall under these categories. And I'll go ahead and provide some examples for some of these. So for fostering unity, um, maybe the new members could come together and work on a community service project, which of course allows these new members to get to know each other a lot more, and as well as doing something good for the community. Um, developing leadership skills. One alternative could be encouraging your peers to join other like clubs and orgs on our campus, or participating in other events, not just your events, or but kind of putting yourself out there and encouraging each other to to participate in different school or campus activities. And another alternative for maybe promoting scholarship. Um, so we do have a lot of resources on campus for especially like tutoring services, of course, office hours, but it's always good to also like create study groups. So you really want to take advantage of these um, college these college services that we have. So just be sure to really promote that within your peers, and so because of course you don't want to see um, your like pledge brother or pledge sister like failing, or you of course you want to see them succeed.
So we will now be going over how to act and report hazing. So if at any moment you are concerned about any activities that are happening in your organization that are negative, that is hazing, that can affect everybody in a negative way, is dangerous, definitely share your concerns with other members and use all of the resources that you have. Talk about the hidden harm that we mentioned before, and definitely taking into consideration some activities that Jason has just mentioned to promote positive brotherhood and sisterhood. So we will now be going on to some resources that are available to you at UC Merced to help you with facilitating uh, a hazing occurrence, and all the things that you will need in these next steps. So we do have a few confidential resources. So there is the anti-hazing hotline, and we have these numbers available. We also have the Office of Ombuds, and it's a free and confidential resource to all UC Merced staff, students, and faculty. So the Office of Ombuds is a safe place where UC Merced community members can go for informal assistance with managing conflict, concerns, complaints with a classmate, colleague, supervisor, or anyone else on campus. So the use of the ombuds office is always voluntary, and talking with an ombuds member, faculty, staff person does not constitute notice to the university for formal complaint. So please call the office or go to their website to use their resource. We also have the counseling and psychological services, also known as CAPS. So be sure to call that number or make an appointment with them if you need that resource.
And reporting hazing is kind of like the next step someone would take. So if you are ready to report, then of course there's like multiple ways. Here's some of them. You can file a report directly with the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, or OSRR for short. So you could send an email to them, studentconduct@ucmerced.edu, or you could fill out an incident form on their website under the Forms tab. Um, and an alternative way is file the report with Fraternity and Sorority Life. So you could fill out the form as well on our website, and or you could email it to Haley Montoya um, to set up an appointment to discuss what happened. And you can also ask to report this anonymously. So please, if you do want to report this anonymously, list it out on your form. And also, um, something to keep in mind, if you reach out to OSRR, to their staff or Haley, it is not confidential, because as staff members, they are required to report this information to the appropriate services. And so what happens after you report hazing? So student conduct will review the information. Um, so they will, and after they review the information, they will conduct interviews with the people that they think is associated, or um, just any people that they think might have more information. So during this process, the president is the main point of contact. Um, and also during this time, the chapter could be placed on interim suspension, which means that this organization is not allowed to hold meetings or events on or off campus, or conduct any general operations until the investigation is complete. And so student conduct also has a right to place in any of the following sanctions, which could be a warning, probation, suspension, or even dismissal. And aside from that, they could also assign like educational components. So this can be workshops, reflection papers, presentations. Um, so there is like other assignments that could be assigned.
So it is important to note that organizational conduct is public, meaning your organization's history can be publicly told. At UC Merced, it is against FERPA to release any individual information of those who are involved. However, your organizational conduct, if your org has any sanctions or is on probation, for example, that is all public. You can request a copy of your organization's conduct file through the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities. So please keep that in mind, because just anybody can go to that office and request that information. Like if your parents wanted that information, if a potential employer wanted that information, that would be public. Again, if there is any individual information, that will not be shown, but your organization that you are a part of. So keep that in mind. And I'm sure that is important to all of you, because that does impact your future. And also note that unless this is reported to the police department, and there are charges against individuals. So if there are charges and it is reported to the police department, individual names will be noted.
And so now to complete our part 2 of the activity, once again, I will ask these questions, if they're hazing, yes or no, and then just kind of take some seconds to think about it, and I'll go ahead and explain why. So, first one, not allow new/prospective prospective members to wear the organization's color or insignia before the initiation. Is this hazing? Yes or no? So this is hazing, because like not allowing a person to wear certain colors, just because it matches the colors of the organization is not okay. Um, Colors are not something that really represents an organization. Of course, they do have their organization colors, which are also possibly shared with other organizations. So, not allowing their new members to wear these colors is not as hazing. And in terms of the insignia, um, this should be something that was um, reported or like stated to you that as like in the beginning, as a new member, educators should be totally transparent with the new members. Um, like they should, that's when they should let you know that their nationals or their national organization might not allow this. um and that's something that you kind of agreed on. That's something that you were notified with. So definitely, um, if they do not let you wear colors, then that is hazing. And moving on to the next question, organize a scavenger hunt to lead new/prospective members to a fun party in their honor. Is this hazing? So, um, this is in fact hazing. So there's multiple things that could go wrong with this. So if say there's a group that has to participate and one person does not feel comfortable participating, then it's not really their. But even though they do participate, it's not really their true consent, because they probably felt like if they were to say no, then everybody else would be like upset or angry. But so this does require like true consent, and of course, like having a party in their honor is not okay, because it is a party that is tied with the organization. And so, and you never know when a person might not be like even comfortable with being around the party scene. So, but just having a party affiliated with the organization is not okay. And moving on to number 3, kidnap new/prospective members and take them to an amusement park for the day. This is hazing. So, yes, this is in fact hazing, with the keyword being kidnap here. Of course, that could be like, or that is actually a crime. So, this is in fact hazing. And the last one, keep the date of initiation secret. Is this hazing? So this is also hazing. As I mentioned already, um, the new member educators should be totally transparent with when these events or rituals or um, for example here initiation when it should be, so it should be like notified to you, and so you have time to plan ahead, and um, and yeah, so the answer to all of them was yes.
So if you have any questions, please reach out to us or our office with those, and we will be showing you the resources for contacts and anything that you feel that you need to ask us. Please reach out to us because we want to be here for you. We are here to help you, and we want to make sure that your experience in the FSL community is a great one and it has a positive impact on you.
And so some of the resources here, so we have Haley Montoya, the coordinator of student involvement and dele- developmental programs. Her email is listed, as well as you can schedule an appointment with her through her You Can Book Me website. We also have Latrice Curl, which is the Associate Dean of Students in the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities. Her number is listed as well as her email. And we also have Doug. He is the Assistant Director of Student Rights and Responsibility and Conduct and Integrity Programs. So his information is also listed there.
You can also request an appointment with the Dean of Students. The information or the link to request an appointment is here. We also have Title IX, the Discrimination, Harassment, and Sexual Violence Department. So you can report anything there through that link. You can also contact Michael Salvador, who is the Director of Compliance, and his phone and email are listed here. You can also reach out to the UC Merced Police Department. You can contact them through their email, and they also have a number that is 24 hours, and they also have a number for regular business hours. So please use these resources for any questions or concerns that you have.
And so that concludes our presentation. I hope everybody, or we hope everybody, learned something new. Of course, with the biggest topic being hazing, um, and just making sure to keep our community safe and making it a good community. So we thank you for your time.